Hey, welcome to the show. We're back. It's Wednesday. We're live connecting the dots in real estate here on Under Contract. And we have a great show for you today. We're doing a best of show. We're really highlighting some guests that we've had in the past, some of those special moments. So we've compiled that for your viewing pleasure today and mine as well. And then once we take a look at the best of, we're going to come back. I'm going to announce the Realtor of the Week and some upcoming shows and events that we'll be looking forward to. So stay tuned here on Under Contract. We're going to go to a quick commercial. We'll be back with the best of Under Contract.
Hey guys, Dave Villa here, CEO of IPD in Tampa, Florida. If you are in sales, if you're a salesperson, stop what you're doing. I'm going to adjure you to watch this video. Hey, this June, August, and October, 3 days, we are hosting right here in IPD headquarters the first serial sales boot camp. This is straight up, absolutely intense training, rolling the sleeves up, baby. Dave, why are you getting all militant? Well, listen, this training is militant. You need to pull the pin on what's holding you back, salespeople, from getting to the level that you desire and dream of. The status quo will not cut it anymore.
My name's Dave Cribbs. I'm the best-selling author of Race to the Finish Line, Gaining and Retaining Your Competitive Advantage. I spent 26 years in the car business and did pretty much everything you could do on what we call the front end of the dealership. And about a year ago, I switched over to real estate. That's my full-time passion now and part of the purpose of the show, because I'm going to be learning each week right along with you, connecting the dots in real estate. I don't know about you, but I want to know everything I can in order to help give me advantage in the marketplace, as well as, most importantly, be able to service my clients in a way that that they can't go down the road and get. Obviously, that's what it's all about. So I kind of want to go back to the numbers, because I know that now at this point, you know, hearing your story is awesome, but realtors I know are thinking, you know, okay, first of all, he went from 1.2, 3.6, 6.1, 8, 10. How big is his group? How big is your group, John, that you've done these kind of numbers?
It's a team of three. It's called me, myself, and I.
Come on now.
No, the realtor group is right here. Unfortunately, I'm a control freak, and I tell you, my wife, I've just hired two. They will be starting in the very near future. They're just past their real estate course. But I don't even use a contract coordinator. I don't use controlled wipers. I don't use cruise control. I mean, delayed wipers, nothing. I got issues, right? So with that being said, I literally did 10 million on my own with no help.
And very little marketing money, right? Very little marketing, because it really went into personal development.
Of zero. No,
marketing budget of zero.
No, I don't send just listed, just sold. I've never sent a postcard in my life. It's all School of Hard Knocks, picking up the phone. Who do you know? You know, Grant Cardone taught me how to prospect, how to close, and how to be a salesman. And I've never been more prouder ever to be a salesman. I'm a salesman. I'm not a realtor. I'm a salesman.
So without further ado, I want to intro our guest today. And, you know, he's no stranger to me. I called him a friend in the car business. And Sean is the owner of Dealer Synergy. He goes around to dealerships all over the country, helping to train and set up internet departments. And he is also involved in real estate. He has his own real estate property company. And without further ado, he is the best-selling author of Googleopoly, Win the Game of Googleopoly. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you, my friend, so much for having me. It's great being here.
Thank you, Sean. You know, I couldn't wait to get you on the show because, you know, I've taken advantages of some of the things that I found in the book, and quite frankly, you know, a lot of it, I'm an old school guy, and I'm not very tech savvy, so a lot of it, you may have to dumb down some of this stuff for me today, because we're going to talk about, we're going to really focus on what is chapter 5 in your book, which is the video SEO. Obviously, video is really huge in real estate and plays a big role in those Google rankings. So if you would, before we get into specific questions, maybe just share with our viewers and listeners how important the video aspect is as far as adding that to you know, to your strategy when it comes to Google ranking.
Yeah, okay, so the bottom line, people, is this, is that there's nothing more important and nothing more powerful than video, period. Drop mic, get off the stage, that's it. If that's all you have time to listen to this interview is that one intro statement, that's enough, because Google says, not Sean Bradley, not anybody else, Google says that video is the most dominant, most powerful piece of medium or content consumed off of its search engines, to the point where a video that's on the first page of Google will get clicked on 53 times more than any other piece of content. So let's be clear. I'm not saying 53%. I'm saying 53 times. You know, have you ever said the phrase 5 times, 10 times, 20 times? Well, upgrade that phrase to 53 times more click-through. Fact one.
Actually, you know what? It's bait. And I don't mean, man, listen, stop thinking of bait and hooks and like bait and switch and negative things. I'm talking about bait. If you look at fishing, which marketing should be patterned after a good time and successful outing of fishing, then that bait is designed to catch the fish that you're going after. If you're going after trout, if you're going after marlin, whatever it is, then you use the proper bait, you fish in the proper spot, and then that bait is designed to get them to act. And then the action, if you know what to do with it, then you can start reeling it in. But you can't do any of that unless there's an attractive bait. And that's what I hear Frank doing. Frank's so smart.
And Frank, tell us.
And
go ahead.
No, and Dave's 100% right. You need the bait, but the bait doesn't always need to be the bait to sell. It needs to be the bait to attract, and it needs to be the bait to engage. So let's dive right in. So if you're a real estate agent, let's say, for example, you work primarily in one area. You should be the authority of that area. You should know everything that goes on in that area, everything that has to do with the schools, everything that has to do with the zoning, with building, all of those types of things, because your customers are going to look for that type of information. You're going to be able to be the person who's the resource or the authority on that information. So what do? You start to use pieces of content that are public, that are true, right? And you use those as bait. For example, let's say you primarily focus on a particular town, and there's going to be a new shopping center built in that town, and there is a article in the local newspaper's website about that shopping center. That should be on your Facebook. You should be pushing that out there. If there's something about, for example, up here it's going to snow. Supposedly, it's 68 degrees today, and we're supposed to have 8 inches of snow tomorrow. That's the weather up in the Northeast for you. But you should have articles, or you should have links to things on your Facebook about the snow that's coming, or about a recent school board meeting or something where they're saying that they're going to put new computers in the school. All of that kind of stuff, believe it or not, to me and you, sometimes we think that's boring because it doesn't sell. No, it does sell. It sells value in the person who's actually providing that content.
The sell to me,
that person becomes an authority.
The sell to me, Dave, is reeling in. The sale is not the bite.
The question is, if I'm selling that $200,000 to $300,000 home and I'm doing fairly consistent business, if I were thinking about, because I think logically, if you're selling a $200,000 home, you think, well, maybe I could graduate to that $1 million home and make a lot more money. But in thinking about that, my question is that really the case? Obviously, there's a bigger commission, but maybe it's not as frequent as selling a home every week in a $200,000 or $300,000 range. What do you say to that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely not as frequent. The sales cycle is definitely longer as well, because I think in my market, there's less of a turnover in the $1 million plus range. I mean, you're talking about the demographic of people that have been saving their whole lives, and this a lot of times is their final home. So they've saved, it's their retirement account, and it's going to be a place for them, for their children and grandchildren to come for the rest of their living lives, 20, 30 years, whatever it might be. And what better place to do that than in Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. A typical agent, I think, spends most of their time either buying and selling single-family homes. So that being said, when Juan Pablo calls or another investor calls an agent or begins to establish a relationship, I think you're absolutely brilliant in using that buying power up front, so to give the realtor confidence and get their attention. But I would think that some realtors, and I believe this could be a mistake, and obviously this is one of the reasons you're on the show today to kind of enlighten us, but I believe that some realtors would say, wait a second, you're an investor, you're going to want me to work for you, take you to a bunch of places, and you may or may not buy an investment home. You're going to make a lowball offer. You're going to do this, that. But maybe that's not so much the case. Maybe an advantage is that as an investor, you're going to continue to buy over and over again. That's why I'm assuming you do some training with the real estate agent. Is that true?
Yes, and there's other factors to that. So some reservations they may have is, while you might try to lowball offers, and then if you do the math, they're still winning. So I work with listing agents, so they act as a dual agent. They represent both the seller and the buyer, me. That's all I work with. I don't work with buyer's agents. I know that goes against conventional wisdom because I'm an investor. I buy properties, but I don't work with buyer's agents. This is the reason why. When you work with listing agents, and if you lowball them on a price, a listing agent will rather receive 3%, they will rather receive 6% of a $100,000 offer than 3% of a $150,000 offer.
Gotcha.
They still get a bigger cut, and it's, like you mentioned, repeat business. And there's many other reasons that go along that.
And our next guest here today is an amazing broker, realtor, and I believe she's a new partner at her brokerage with the RVA team, RVA home team, that is, Miss Shannon Milligan. Shannon, are you with us?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, Shannon. Thank you. We were just talking about the fact that these open houses are just a great, fertile ground or resource for leads, whether you're picking up buyers or sellers. But oftentimes I think either a real estate agent either doesn't know kind of where to start or exactly what to do, and especially what to do to make it a very successful event. And I think some of the reputation of an open house is a little tainted in the sense that I believe that most agents, and Shannon, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but most agents set up an open house, put up a few signs, maybe send out a few things or post something on social media and hope for the best turnout. And maybe no one walks in, maybe 2 or 3 people walk in. Is that typical?
Yeah, I would say, I would agree with that. Or they don't do them at all. They tell the client, the seller, oh, well, nobody buys a house from open house. And my answer to that is, while that might be statistically, nobody can buy one if you don't have one. And I've certainly had people buy homes from an open house. So, it's a great chance to market the property for your seller. It's a great way to meet other sellers and other buyers.
Yeah, being in new construction, and especially in the neighborhood that I'm in, we've only had one home that has made it from start to finish without being pre-sold. So I haven't had those opportunities like you find out there in general real estate to host open houses myself. But this really makes me scratch my head. I can't figure out why realtors aren't fighting for these opportunities and also building up a better, more exposed open house. It's like you said, you can't sell a house with an open house if it doesn't exist, if you haven't done it in the first place. So let's go back to Scott real quick. And Scott, I know that you teach a class also on this very thing, but what are some of the maybe just 2 or 3 things that you believe that you do in preparation for an open house that helps have more successful or drive traffic?
Okay, so if you want to really drive traffic, and that is the whole concept of having an open house, it's not just because the expectations of the seller is to have an open house. The reason a realtor has an open house is because it's a lead generation. And if you want to spend 3 hours of your time, you want the most for it, so you need to do certain things in advance and not just go there, put the sign out, and turn on the lights. So those things would be like going out the day before and knocking on doors around that open house and inviting the neighbors. Make the neighbors a part of it, because those are the people that possibly know somebody that would love to live in their neighborhood, or if they themselves come, maybe they're on the radar about listing their home as well. And so you take a flyer, hey, I represent your neighbor, I'm selling their home, I promise to get the word out about the home, and I just want to invite you, here's a flyer. That flyer should talk about that property, and then probably on the reverse side, all of your flyers should have your own bio or profile selling yourself. That's another great tip.
Right.
And then And then ask them the question, do you know anybody that would love to live in your neighborhood? And then the other question is at the end, when do you plan on selling? And there's opportunities there.
Yeah, and I would think that right now maybe it's more of an opportunity than ever. We'll go back to Shannon because, Shannon, I'm thinking that with the prices of homes rising as quickly as they have in the last couple of years, first of all, the people who already are in homes in the neighborhood or have been there a while are most likely now back in a nice position in their home as far as equity, but maybe more importantly, aren't as up to date as to that new value and what they could really get for their home. Maybe talk about that for a moment, Shannon. Yeah, but that is interesting that, within 10 to 15 seconds of walking into the home, they already have a very good feeling as to whether or not that might be the one. And, you mentioned standing out, when they walk in. Odds are, obviously, if you're having an open house, and you're getting traffic, buyers that are coming or interested people that are looking at the house to see potentially if that might be the one for them, I think it's safe to assume that that's not the only house they're walking into, right? They're walking into others. So I think that's what you mean by standing out, because most of the homes won't have that type of, they're either going to be empty or they're going to be lived in, and the lived in really isn't going to compare to walking in and staging the home.
Absolutely. I mean, if the house is empty, what's there to look at? What's there to remember? They'll go in and be like, oh, okay, here's neutral paint color, it's a beige box. Staging will actually impress them so much. First impressions are everything.
They are.
Correct, David?
Yes.
So first impressions, they'll come in and they will remember that property if they're setting up to spend the afternoon looking at maybe 3 or 4 houses. And the other thing is, you don't want them walk into a home, like you said, if somebody's selling their home but they're still living in it, and you don't want them to kind of give some sort of nickname to the homes like, oh, remember the ugly floral couch house or what have you. You don't want buyers going into the negative thought process at all. You want them to remember the house that you are selling stands out against the rest, and they will remember it at the end of the day.
All right, let's take a look at my number one. After hearing all of these, what possibly could be my number one reason why you would want to start first, and I did say first, with new construction, and here's what it is. And I hope this hits home, because again, there's a reason it's number one. And I'm going to erase this because I do feel like number one, we owe it to ourselves to write this one down without any of the other ones distracting us. But the number one reason why you want to start with new construction first is this. Your clients are coming without you. Your clients are coming without you. Okay, talk to any new home salesperson at a new model, and you'll find that this is absolutely the case. Look, remember when we talked about earlier setting that price point and having a benchmark and understanding what you're getting new versus what you're getting used? Well, it is a natural curiosity for a customer to look at what brand new cost when they're looking at what pre-owned costs, right? They want to see, hey, is this worth the difference? Am I spending money on a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old home? And does it make sense when I can buy a brand new home under warranty right now for this much more, right? So what happens is your customer oftentimes comes without you. And when they come without you, you're not protected on that new home commission. It may be a customer that you get the listing on their home, right? But why would you not want to get both, right? You can get 2 commissions here. So communicating with your customer when you first meet them and qualify them, let's take a look at new just to provide that benchmark for you so that you can compare and see what new and used looks like. Does that make sense? Of course it does. Meeting. What are some, things that are like either maybe common mistakes or some must-dos or some things that really give a realtor an edge when it comes to that initial interview?
So for the initial interview with a buyer, what you really need to do is you need to, number one, ask them if they're working with another real estate agent. Because if they're working with a real estate agent, it's unethical for you to, pursue any further at that point. If they're not working with another agent, you need to, first question is, have you talked to a lender? If they have, great, get the information from that lender and then have an opportunity to talk with them and see if all the ducks are in the row. What's their DTI? What's their income looking like? What's their credit scores? Do they need to do a repair on their credit scores? Are they ready to go? If let's say they can go up to like 750, if we have to, could we push it a little bit? Kind of all the initial questions and figuring out what they can actually buy. Once we get that, I think that's what a lot of times people don't ask. Number one, hey, are you working with another agent? Yes or no. Hey, have you talked to a lender? Because a lot of times you get out and you start showing properties because you're an eager beaver. You're just like, oh my God, I just want to get out there and I want to show the buyers everything on the marketplace.
Right.
But you get out there and you're like, shit. I get out there and it's too expensive for them. And so I use a script and it is, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, have you talked to a lender? Yes. Great. Or no. Okay, great. And I'm glad I asked that. And the reason why is that the worst thing I could ever possibly do is that the worst thing I could do is I could go show you a home that's a little bit outside your comfort zone on affordability, because at that point, that will be the benchmark for everything else that we look at, and nothing that's going to be in your affordability index is going to be, is going to be what you want, because your eyes are set on that prize that's so far above where you were. And I said, that's why I want you to speak with a lender, so we can understand exactly where you're comfortable on the purchase price and on the monthly payment, and then we'll go look at it, look at home.
Successful. So I think that's important
exactly.
as well.
And when you find yourself in one of these brokerages that end up with the lower percentages of splits and whatnot, that's where they do have that little bit more of a structure and organization and environment that's more conducive to, hey, that we know what you need to do, this is what you need to do, as opposed to like the 100% brokers and everything. Again, they work for some people, but it's people that already know what to do. Know they have to go out there and exactly. People that've been in this and they know they have to knock on doors or do this, or they have the money to pay for marketing and they're still doing the activities behind it that.
Hey, we're back live, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in to see the Best Of show. Those were some great interviews, and there were many other guests along the way that we didn't include today that we'll do on another episode of the Best Of. It was a great opportunity to kind of hear from all the ones that we've talked to in the past and catch some of those clips. But next, I want to introduce the Realtor of the Week, and a little drum roll. I know you're out there drum rolling with me. Please help me out. I'm alone here on the set. Okay, you got that ready for me, Lou? All right. And the Realtor of the Week is Carrie Caney. Carrie Caney with Exit Realty. And you can reach out to Carrie. We have her web address there at the top, so make sure that you're connecting with Carrie. Carrie is simply getting it done. And by the way, and I'm going by memory because I don't see it on the screen there, but I believe that Carrie is out of Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll look back at that and make sure that we have her information not only on screen here, but I'll comment on the show later to make sure that everybody sees that. And I'll tag Carrie later, because the Realtor of the Week never really knows until they're chosen. So congratulations, Carrie Caney. You are making it happen. So, hey, some upcoming shows. Lou, can you get on the mic for a second, Lou? We typically have two producers, and we're coming to the kind of... are you there, Lou?
Well, I'm there.
Okay, cool. Ezra, who was our second producer, he kind of had to go home early today, wasn't feeling well, so we're praying for him. But Lou, first of all, I want to thank you guys, and I'll do it again when Ezra's here. I think we only have 3 more shows remaining in the current studio.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I know. You guys have been so amazing. But the show is moving to a brand new studio set, and we'll continue to partner with Lou and Ezra and all the gang here at IPD Media Productions on different projects. But I can't thank them enough for all of their support and being able to host the show here in this studio. And so we have 3 more episodes upcoming here. I do know that one of the episodes will have a power couple, a broker, flying in from Texas. They are really making it happen as well. They have their own brokerage out in Texas, just really doing some great things. They're going to be flying in to be a part of the show. So they'll be on set with me here on the 28th. That'll be the final show in this studio, and then of course we'll move to the new one beginning July. Also keep on the lookout in about a week or so, and I'll make that announcement when it goes live, but we'll be We'll be opening up our live website for Under Contract Live. It'll be under undercontractlive.com. We're also going to be on location coming up very shortly. We're going to be in August. We'll be at the Florida Realty Expo or Realtor Expo. Damon John is going to be the keynote speaker there. We'll probably run a clip of that with Damon here coming up soon, and it'll be a part of the show. And hey, for right now, great things coming. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'll see you next week on Under Contract Live. #Boom.